Hello everyone. I hope you guys are doing well. If you're new to this channel, welcome. And if you've been following me for a while, welcome back. I am a bit early for a Halloween inspired video, but we aren't following any rules here. So keep watching till the end if you want to see how I transformed this plain looking pot into a spooky little witch's trinket box. To start off, I sketched some ideas for the elements I wanted to add to this pot. When I looked at this pot for the first time, it reminded me of a witch's cauldron. And then, as I used a few more of my brain cells, I started visualizing it as a pumpkin too, and then a pumpkin house, because we're doing a Halloween inspired craft, so why not? Finally, I settled down on the idea where this pot would be a witch's cauldron, which will also be a pumpkin witch house where she cooks her potions and performs her magic rituals. So now let's get on to working on all the witchy elements. Since it's a witch's house, of course the rooftop has to be a witch's hat. Very original, yep. So to make the hat, I used some scrap cardboard paper to make the basic skeleton of the hat. I cut the paper in two parts as you saw. The hat would have a wide base and a pointy and twisted upper portion. Since this hat would also be the lid of the pot, I traced the outline of the pot's opening on the smaller sheet to get a rough idea of the size of the base. After that, I rolled the other bigger piece of cardboard paper to make the upper body of the hat. Then I made some cuts at the base and taped it down on the base. I also used a paper knife to cut the insides of the hat to make it hollow. After that, I twisted the upper half of the tube and twisted it in a shape similar to a witch's hat. I did this step very roughly because I'd be adding layers of texture paste and clay later on to give it more structure and strength. Once the skeleton of the hat was ready, I made some texture paste. For this, I mixed 2 tablespoons of white cement and 2 to 3 tablespoons of water to form a paste like this. I applied a thick paste, an even coat of this mixture on the hat skeleton and let it dry overnight. You can also cover it with tissue paper using glue and water mixture if you don't have these materials. Now it's completely dry but looks a little rough on the surface. To make it smooth, I added another layer of clay over it to give it its final form. So I'll be making the clay myself. To make the clay, I used the same materials as the texture paste. I mixed 3 tablespoons of white cement with a little bit of water to form a dough like this. After that, I washed my hands and moisturized them nicely before kneading the clay dough to avoid dryness in my skin, and I used some talcum powder to smoothen out the dough and to prevent it from sticking to my hands and reduce the chances of cracking when it dries. After the white cement dough is ready, make sure to put it in a closed container and take only small portions at a time because it dries off very quickly and you cannot use it later. I covered the whole hat with this clay and smoothened the cracks and joints with a little bit of water on my fingers. Once I was happy with the shape of this witch's hat, I let it dry too. It took around 7 to 8 hours to dry fully. After the lid was ready, I started working on other elements. For this, I used modeling air dry clay. I made the witch's legs with those iconic cartoonish black shoes with rolled tips. I put some support underneath the legs so they dry in the same posture. I also made a miniature broomstick because the witch has to run errands. To make the broomstick, I collected some twigs from the little plants I have at home. To make the broom, I used this plastic rope or string, folded it like an accordion, and tied it with another string. Then I cut the loops on one side and applied glue on the other side and stuck the twig in. That was the easiest miniature thing I've ever made. After that, I made a door with the same clay and added more elements to the hat and the pot. I left everything to dry overnight. I also watered down the leftover texture paste and applied it to the remaining areas of the pot to give it a good base for painting the next day. And now comes the fun part. To paint it, I used acrylic paints. I painted the witch's hat with a beautiful shade of bluish purple, the belt of the hat with black, and the buckle with golden. Then I mixed some orange with lemon yellow to make pumpkin orange and started painting the base of the pot. I had to apply 2 coats of paint for an even coverage. I painted the dripping liquid with green and the witch's legs with black. Then I went over the liquid drips with a metallic green color to make it shine and added more details with a darker shade of the pumpkin orange color to give it a pumpkin-like appearance. After that, I painted some yellow stripes on the legs of the witch to make it look like stockings and painted buckles with golden paint on the shoes. To make the spider's web more interesting, I applied some silver dust paint on it with my fingers and a bit on the belt too. I painted the door brown and added some more details with golden. After all the painted elements dried completely, I applied an even coat of this gloss varnish to seal everything. And with that, this little witch's trinket box is ready. Let's take a final look at it. If you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel. If you have any suggestions for me, feel free to comment down below. I'll be back with another video soon. Until then, goodbye and take care.